Okay.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. So welcome to the Korvus Create podcast. So I'm your host, Rachel Lofgren,
I'm Michael Clark.
and we're welcoming our guest speaker, Stephen McLean. And I actually went to high school with him. So it's kind of cool to reunite a little bit. I was actually doing a, a little booth at the Orem Center Park, and we ran into each other and kind of reconnected. And um, Yeah, no, and I really wanted you to be on my podcast because I'm excited to hear about your story, get a little familiar of what got you into art and that kind of thing. So yeah, if you want to kind of start with just introducing yourself, who you are, how you got into art, what your passion for it is, and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Rachel. Again, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was good to reconnect at the Orem market and everything. It's close to my house, which is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I'm from Orem, Utah, still out here in Orem too. So um, I really grew up just doing art classes like Mrs. Wilhelm from Canyon View. If you remember that, that's kind of like where it all started.
That's
But yeah, so I think I really just enjoyed drawing with like friends and stuff. Didn't really get serious until high school. It wasn't until I took my first like honors art class with Amy Davis, I think is who it
yeah.
was.
Yep.
Yeah. So she was awesome to kind of help foster like talent and help guide you. So the honors art class was fun. I was able to like really hone in the technical skills. And it wasn't until I did my first like white charcoal piece, which it was that portrait of Camilla that Kylie took the picture of with like the leaves. I don't know if you remember
Oh,
that.
we'll have to show that I'll have to post that on the image
Okay.
or on the video.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
show things on an audio format, but
Yeah.
sure, it sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you guys a picture after. But that was like my first piece that kind of like I feel like popped. I put a lot of my effort into. And I feel like as an artist, you want to find your niche, your medium. And white charcoal was it. Like charcoal and gray scale with like graphite, things like that. That's my first piece. So after high school, I like went on my mission. I sketched a bit and did a couple art pieces for some investigators. Did my first portrait of President Monson, and that went really well. And I was like, okay, I still got a knack for this, right? So I kind of dabbled in art like on and off as I got home. I then got married at that time and was started going to school for business.
Yeah.
Wasn't really enjoying school for business, things like that. And I decided after going to FanX in 2019 for the first time, I would like walk through my first artist alley and I was like, this is like the coolest thing. This is like what I want to do, right?
He still
So I
hasn't been. I need to take him.
I've never been
we'll
to
have
like
to
a
go
Comic-Con or a
this.
FanX or anything.
Oh my gosh,
It's
it's
been like
so fun.
it's been something I've wanted to do because I like seeing like, especially you get to see a lot of artists, and this is
Yeah.
kind of where they
hmm
thrive, and it's such a huge market for artists in all varieties of media to thrive in.
hmm
It's like 50%, from my understanding, it's like 50% of what Comic-Con and FanX and all those styles of conventions are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and most conventions have like a big artist alley presence. FanX does, which is nice. And I
Yeah.
can talk more about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's where I like met some artists, talked to them. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. So after that, I changed my major to art. Got divorced kind of right after that. That's just kind of life happens. But I really kind of dove into art and studied art and design at UVU, mainly focusing on like traditional art and sketching and run of the human head, like the figure drawing classes, just kind of the realism in general. So I then my goal was like, I'm going to sell at FanX for the first time. And so I really chose white charcoal because that was the one piece that kind of stuck with me in high school. And so continued to learn the medium, learn how it acts, learn how it reacts to like different things, like pressure, everything. And then I started making some charcoal pieces tertially. Then I learned about iPad and like Procreate, where I can do the same texture but no mess. So I do a lot of my stuff digitally now on a big iPad Pro. But in 2021, I was able to sell at my first FanX, which was the first booth. Didn't know anything. My setup was crap, but I learned a lot and I had the most fun. And so from there, I then didn't get in for 2022, but got in for 2023. And 2024. So I've learned a lot more about the convention scene, done FanX 3 times now, looking to be a fourth, but I also have now expanded my conventions where I've got three conventions this year. FanX would be the fourth, waiting on a couple more where I've got StoryCon in 4 weeks that I'm doing.
Cool. Where's
So So it's up in Salt Lake as well at the Salt Lake Convention Center. The vendor floor is actually free, which is cool. So it's mainly arranged around like authors and books, but there's like artists and illustrators there as well. So if you guys know Brandon Sanderson, his Dragon Steel is
Yeah.
so his whole company is a big contributor of that. So I'm got invited to that, which is really cool. So I'm doing that. And then I have an anime isekai convention in March that's in Sandy. And then I have a horror convention up in Pocatello, Idaho. So
That's cool.
I'm gonna do a bunch of different pieces like Scream, all the classic slashers, Mike Myers, Freddy Krueger, all that stuff. But that's kind of like how I got into art and like where I'm at now. I want to do it full time eventually. Still have a 9 to 5, managing sales reps at a tech company, but the goal is to this year just scale and grow and just I want to get back into traditional art and do bigger traditional pieces, as well as like continue doing fan art for conventions. That's kind of like the fun side hustle part of it. But to make money with it, I want to be able to do big traditional originals and just kind of put a lot of love into those like kind of 40-hour pieces, I would say.
Yeah.
So would you say that so there's different avenues of what art is? You got, your fan art, the pop culture kind of reference stuff. But then you, like you were saying, is like traditional art. Is that like referring to like landscapes, like beautiful portraits that you see? Like something you'd see in like how he draws in Titanic. He makes that nice portrait of her. And would you say so? That kind of fine art, is that what you're wanting to move towards? Is like some of the more what's the term?
Just like
very beautiful, very
elegant
kind of stuff. Is that kind of stuff you want to move towards?
Or do you want to do a mixture of both still? Like what's
honestly a mixture of both. I want to always continue to do conventions, just like the business side of it and the business mind of it, that I've learned from like school and everything. Conventions, I'd have to do a lot of them to make it scalable to get like profitable. I'm still trying to figure out how to be like really profitable with those because I'm breaking even basically with those. So I do want to do a dabble of both because I want to get into the more elegant fine art things with white charcoal and just charcoal itself. I also want to get into character design. So I'm doing some courses on like YouTube. I got a couple books to help me with like just kind of character design and drawing from imagination, because that's where I struggle, is I can draw from reference all day, right? But I do want to get into more like high-end portraits, still lifes, maybe not landscape just yet, but like wildlife, things like that. And to be able to like sell those kind of originals, which would be kind of cool. But mainly I love portraits. I love capturing a human face and emotion. And some of my recent pieces, I've gotten a lot of compliments from like Gandalf where they're like, oh, you can capture his emotion like in the eyes, right? That's my favorite, is drawing people's eyes and just capturing like their emotion through their expression in art, which is just cool. So
I love that. Yeah, and we'll definitely be showing our audience like some of your art. And what I love about it is you don't use white paper, right, all the time. You start with black paper and then you use white charcoal and white mediums on top of the black, and it really helps it pop and helps with that contrast. And it is really a pretty look. I love it.
So what drew you to white charcoal on black paper over the reverse, white paper on with black charcoal, or just colored charcoal or anything like that?
I don't like, I don't know, I feel like I struggle with color, like pastels, things like that, or painting. It's not my like strength. I have an eye for value and I love being able to use grayscale. So I do a lot of sketching and value with just graphite. I don't know, white charcoal, I just feel like you don't see a lot of that in the art world right now, especially like at FanX. I'm the only white charcoal artist that I've seen in Artist Alley. There's about 2 or 3 other charcoal artists that are at FanX, like Amber House. We'll talk about her later. She's one of my favorites. She's awesome. There's another artist that's there every now and then I've seen, but he does charcoal as well. But a lot of it's like digital anime, things like that. And there's one other, like, he's like super hyper realism graphite artist. He's so cool. Actually, I don't think I have his sticker on my water bottle, but
I'll have you send me like the names of all these artists and how they're spelled, so that to make sure we've got the correct names for our audience so we can have them look them up. But yeah, like what would be like your top 3 favorites that have really, and not even just from FanX, just in general, what would you say your top 3 like most influential artists have been over the years and
Um,
career?
Yeah, I would say I have four, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Like classic Rembrandt. I love his use of
Yes.
lighting.
Love.
Rembrandt's just classic artist. You always have to have one classic in there.
Yeah.
So Rembrandt for sure. Liz Lemon Swindle, she does a lot of
Oh
like
yeah.
LDS art. So she was in my home ward growing up, and I would
Oh,
watch her sketch during Sacrament, which is really cool.
yeah.
But she's amazing. I love her style and her ability to capture emotion, and she's just been really cool. She visited the class a couple times. I think she helped create the AP art portfolios and everything.
Yes, and I got rejected, so I'm not bitter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I actually
But
worked for her son for a little bit because I believe it was her parents that started a framing company, and then her son
mhm,
took it over, from what I remember. But it was
yeah,
really a lot of great experience to work for that family for the little
that's
time.
awesome.
But yeah, Liz Lemon Swindle, she's been a big one for Utah,
Yeah,
definitely.
she's very good. And then I would say the a charcoal artist that I really like is Joel Pilch. He's a wildlife charcoal artist. I've been following him since he had like 20,000 like, followers. Now he's got like 150. But I've DM'd him a couple times. He's given me pointers and things like that. His work is what I aspire to get to with like it's kind of like a mixed media type of thing, but
Yeah.
mainly charcoal. And his wildlife stuff is crazy. It's really good. So if you're like a big hunter, outdoorsman, he's like your guy. So I'd say those are kind of the top three, and then fourth is just Ember House. And she's the other charcoal artist. Ember House is her company name. I can't remember her like full name, but she does charcoal art as well.
Cool.
She's at FanX. She was the one that in 2019 really like kind of inspired me to be like, oh, she gave me a lot of tips and everything, and I was like, oh, I could do this because I was like, oh, I drew to her booth because it was like kind of what I do, and I was like, yeah. So
Cool.
she's awesome. So
That's
she's having a baby soon too. So
Oh, cool. Well, and it just makes you love them even more when they're just so nice and helpful.
yeah,
Well,
and it's me.
it really is, we could do a whole episode about how you're selling yourself, you're selling your personality along with your art, and
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
makes a big difference if,
So
you're willing to help others and, be kind-hearted and, especially for those who would, if somebody admires you, like that's quite an honor to have somebody admire you and your work. And so that says a great deal about that person if she was sat down with you, give you pointers, like
Mhm.
really, supportive and constructive in a positive way.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of going along with, kind of putting yourself out there of stuff that you're interested in, and it's something that means personal stuff to you when you're doing these the fan X where you're doing pop culture and character drawings. Do you usually draw stuff that you know and that you love and kind of like are attached to, or do you do kind of a mix of stuff that you're interested in that you know of and then stuff that you've never really heard of but it's popular so you do it anyway,
Yeah.
and you just kind of look at the references and draw it? Do you do stuff like that?
Yes, I kind of been drawing the fandoms that I enjoy.
Yeah.
I get a lot of requests, so I need to branch out and start drawing what other people enjoy, obviously to cater to the audience.
Yeah.
With like FanX, it's just pop culture in general, so it's very widely broad. So it's hard to like hit everything,
Yeah.
but I need to have more relevant stuff. So yeah, mainly draw what I like fandom wise, like a lot of Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Marvel, some video games. I've been doing arcane pieces recently from the show on Netflix. I
Mhm.
just finished one yesterday that was actually fun to do. Um, but I'm working on staying more relevant and doing stuff to more like relevant pop culture. So like stuff that's this year. So when I do go to FanX's conventions, I've got more relevant pieces that'll hopefully be able to cater to the most popular things that are like in that time. So that's what I'm doing arcane from stuff from season 2 right now. So when I have it for next year, or for later this year, hopefully people are like, oh, it's arcane.
Yeah.
So I can talk to them about it, which is cool.
Cool. So with you said you're working a regular 9 to 5 job. You're doing all this stuff at FanX. You're trying to build up your artistic career, but you're still working. You said it was a consultant or
I'm a sales manager for a
sales
tech
manager.
company. Yeah.
So how is it balancing, your regular business job versus trying to build up an artistic career? and what's the balance there? And do you find yourself exhausted on some days because you're working that 40-hour week and then coming back and like, okay, how much time do I need to put into my artistic career?
Yeah. What would your advice be for somebody who might want to break into the art world and the art business? But, they're still life.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got bills to pay, so until you kind of find that market, get that things in. For me, it's just been a grind. I've had to find good jobs that can understand my dream and respect it. So there's like a work and life balance. My previous job at Blue Raven Solar, managing a department, was great. I worked a lot, so it was really hard to really do art and everything outside because I was mentally exhausted. I recently changed jobs to this new one, and I'm off at 4 o'clock every day. So is my team. So I don't have to worry about them calling while I'm gone or whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's balance. And I'm not burnt out when I leave that job because I have like a smaller team, and it just seems like it's more realistic to balance my like mental health with doing all that. It gives me the mental, I guess, ability to come home and still have some energy left in the tank to want to draw. So basically I come home, grab some food, and then I start drawing again or working on the business, right? So it's the 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5 kind of thing. So it's a lot more hours, but you just got to keep the passion up and kind of have the discipline to do it, and remember your why, remember what the ultimate goal is. So because I'm not perfect, there's days where I come home and I don't draw at all. Like last week I didn't draw at all because I had longer meetings at work and I was like tired. I'm like, I don't want to sit here and like mentally focus on this art piece for 3 or 4 hours and then get frustrated at it. Like we've all been there where it's like, I've been working on this piece or trying to figure something out and you're like, it's just not like clicking. So I need to step away. So it was a good like little break, but I came back where I'm like drawing every day this week. Like I got that last piece done in 2 days, which normally it takes me a couple of weeks. So I was like, yeah, so
cool,
feeling good, but just make time for yourself is my thing, is like, don't overdo it, find balance in all things. Like I grind Monday through Friday, then Saturday and Sundays, like I just do kind of whatever. I'll draw if I want to, but if I don't require myself to like work on the business stuff on the weekends.
I think that's important with anything, like especially when it comes to when you're trying to build one career while working in another, or just any hobby, anything really, is to make sure you're still taking that time off.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of times people will do their regular job and during the day, and then their weekend is when they work that other job. And they just find themselves burning out.
Big time.
Yeah.
And then they wonder, it's like people struggle with the artistic community because that's what ends up happening. But yeah, it's making sure that you have that set time to take that break. And really, you don't like that creative, you got to let that kind of creative juice rebuild over time.
Well, and there's something to be said about having a support crew, like having your community, especially with like friends and family. Like sometimes they just need to understand, like, you're not, even if you are an extroverted person per se, like art takes so much time away from anything else. Like you're literally doing 2 jobs, and so sometimes friends will be calling at like 6, 7, 8 o'clock, be like, hey, let's go do this, and you're like, I'm sorry, I want to gotta put my time into the art business. So it's good to have very supportive people around you to that can be understanding. And I have a hard time with that too. It's like sometimes when a holiday comes up, I'm like, oh, 2 whole days I can draw and paint, and then it comes and I'm like, I'm just so burnt out and exhausted, I just need to take the time off. But that's awesome. You're really starting to find your groove, and hopefully hopefully soon you can just only have to focus on your art and not have to
that's the goal.
job. So
was it when you had decided that you were going to start working on your art more, did you just kind of ease yourself into it, or did you go like hardcore right out of the gate and it just kind of has been working out for you?
It's a good question. I tried to go hard out of the gate a few different times and just kind of had to reevaluate. You try, and then with, like I said, with my last job, there was times where I could and then I couldn't. So it hasn't been until like I started taking it really serious, I would say mid last year, was like, hey, like I want to give myself a shot to do this full time. So it was like May-ish and June is like when I'm like, I'm doubling down on this. I'm creating the business side of it. I'm going to be drawing more. I'm just taking it more seriously. So about 7-8 months now,
Cool.
7 months I've been doing it, where it's like I've done one convention a year, but I spent the last 6 months like mapping out everything, like planning out conventions, planning out markets, like what does my business plan look like, and just like developing that. And that's where this year is like I have 3 conventions locked in, waiting for FanX. They have some new people and they're taking forever. It's a whole thing. I don't want to talk. It's been a little frustrating this year, but it's okay. So I'm just trying to do, if I can do 6 conventions, 5-6 conventions this year, that'd be amazing, because then I'm just going to learn and kind of figure that out. So it's just trial by error. But yeah, so the last 7 months I've gotten really serious about it. Where I've wanted to get serious, now I'm just like actually in a place where I feel like I can do it. So
excellent. And I'm assuming, I would hope you're at least active on social media, right?
yeah, that's the one piece I'm trying to post more things like that. Yeah, so I have Instagram, I have TikTok, I have Blue Sky, Twitter.
Okay.
So I post kind of regular. I'm most active on Instagram right now. So, but yeah, trying to grow those, because that's where I feel like nowadays you need social media to be an artist. So
yeah, and it's a great tool to kind of get that information out. Like, hey, I'm going to be at this convention, doing this, and you're able to get that out there so people can come and find you. So that's great. That also adds a whole extra element outside of just art itself. Like nobody realizes how hard social media actually is.
Yeah,
when you're doing the creative side, and then you're like, oh yeah, I have to create videos and posts and all this other stuff.
Yeah. So
like a third job, just doing this.
Yeah. I mean, there's the art side of things, and you have the business side of things.
Business side.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like I do understand both, which is very like, I'm blessed with that, where it's like I have the skills and continue developing my skills, but I feel like I've got a decent business mindset of like, hey, from my old job, just learning in solar and like from school of like how to do it. So it's just like trial and error, but it's fun.
What would you say the percentages there is? Like 80% art, 20% business, or do you think it's more 50-50?
I'd say it depends on the week. I try and do it like 50-50. Like there's days like where there's nights where I'm like I'm drawing, other nights I'm like I'm doing the business side of things. So I'm on my computer kind of planning stuff out, trying to do social media posts, working on my Etsy. Like I took a little while to revamp my entire Etsy going and everything. So learned Canva, so I start like matting photos, things like that. So it looks like I have mock-ups. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and for our listeners, we'll have all of Steven's social media accounts listed on our website and on our podcast website. So
yeah. So Steve, go ahead and like give us a shout. Where can people find you? Like what's your handles and whatnot?
Everything is Art by Twitchy. So I have Tourette syndrome, so I Twitch. So Art by Twitchy is the name on any social media. So
all right. Well, everyone can find you there. Hopefully you'll see you at a couple conventions in FanX.
Yeah.
For anyone who's flying over to Salt Lake or who lives in Utah can go see him. But yeah, this has been an awesome opportunity to meet you and hear about your stuff and the charcoal drawings. I always really liked white on black. I really like dark values.
Yeah.
A lot.
You do.
So
he does.
The fact that you start dark and then put the light in, I love it. So
thank you.
Well, awesome, Stephen. Well, thank you so much for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you.
Please, I'll send you an email of all the information we need so we can share that out to our followers. And we'd love to have you again on soon, and probably
just let me know.
We can get an update and find out what other conventions you're going to be doing. So
that'd be awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it. Goal for 2026 is some like Anime Con in LA and a couple of big ones. So we'll see if I get there.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That'd be awesome. But well, thank you everybody so much for listening. Thank you, Steve, for joining.